The times when inventors failed. Hello, and welcome back to another video here on the Tech Region channel. Without inventors, we wouldn't really have anything but ourselves and our basic behaviors. Invention is the backbone of progress, and it has driven the progress we have made in the recent past. However, these inventions have come after years of research and failure. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the times when inventors failed. Stay tuned, because this is going to be an interesting one. Alexander Graham Bell, the Signet. Alexander Graham Bell is most famous for creating the first working telephone, as well as the first telephone company, the American Telephone and Telegraph Company, AT&T. But the inventor also tried his hand at a number of different fields, with mixed results. One of the most mixed is his giant tetrahedral kite, the Signet. The Signet, meaning little swan in French, was a 40-foot-long plane built from thousands of tetrahedral cells meant to catch and trap the breeze. At 2,000 pounds, it seemed destined to fail. Although it did actually manage to take a pilot off the ground, it was nearly impossible to maneuver and ended up crashing. Bell later developed better designs, culminating in the famous Silver Dart. Thomas Edison, the Kinophone. Thomas Edison was a brilliant inventor who gave the world the light bulb and the phonograph and much of our motion picture technology. More on this a little later. He also helped systematize invention by applying the scientific method and collaboration to the process, which helped change commercial inventing forever. E. Double also thought movies would be watched alone, standing, bent over, and peering into a dark, clanking machine. Yes, Edison, how logical. The first machine, called the kinetoscope, was one of the first motion picture viewing devices. It essentially wound meters of film images next to each other and flashed them at the viewer in rapid succession. However, the film was stored in a large box that the viewer had to bend over and stare into, uncomfortably. The Kinophone added a phonograph which was built in the unit to combine sound and moving pictures. A very cool idea, but one that projection systems completely defeated. The Soviet Union flying tanks. During World War II, every major nation took its shot at advancing military technology. Some, like the Jeep and duct tape, were clear successes, and some, like the Soviet Union-created Antonov A-40, were not. The A-40, or Krylia Tanka, winged tank, was a Soviet tank with detachable glider wings so the tank could fly, towed by another plane, and then glide onto the field of battle, ready to go. Or not ready, as the tank was just too heavy for any wings they could design. To compensate, the Soviets stripped the tank of any weight they could, which meant ammunition, fuel, guns, and even headlights. The tanks, now not so deadly, were still too heavy. The project underwent only one flight, and it was not quite successful enough to warrant the program's continued existence. Nintendo Famicom. Nintendo is one of, if not the most recognizable names in video games today. They created countless hit games and systems, and since their smash hit, the Super Nintendo, even their flop consoles have still sold millions. It's hard to believe, then, that before the NES, they put their first home console, the Famicom, on the market, and it failed miserably. The Famicom was meant to compete with the popular Atari 2600 and ColecoVision, and in theory, could have done it. The problem was that the chipset inside the Famicom was broken. A faulty circuit caused games to freeze often, and Nintendo was forced to recall all Famicoms during the critical holiday season. Luckily, after a few tweaks, as well as brief forays into home computing and arcade machine, Nintendo released a reworked version of the Famicom, known as the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. AT&T, the Picture Phone. Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, and dozens of other audio/video calling services exist, and many see habitual use from millions of people each day. The idea of video calling to talk to another person as face-to-face as possible seems like a no-brainer. That's why it's so odd that AT&T succeeded in releasing a working picture phone as far back as 1964, and no one really cared. AT&T debuted their picture phone at the 1964 World's Fair in Queens, NY, and even installed 3 public video phones in Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New York City's Grand Central Station. The technology was about 50 years ahead of its time. It was, however, extremely expensive at $16 to $27 per minute, and that was for low-resolution video, so it didn't catch on. Bill Gates' tablet. Apple tends to dominate the tablet world with its line of iPads. They're thin, attractive, and functional. But oddly enough, Bill Gates invented a tablet a full decade before the first iPad. It looks and functions much the same, just worse. In 2011, Bill Gates showed off the new Microsoft tablet PC, and it initially seemed great. It ran Windows XP and, compared to desktop PCs, was light, slim, and portable. But that was its fatal flaw. It simply tried to be a smaller PC. Because of that, it forced in the far too bulky operating system and was therefore wildly expensive $2,000 on launch. Needless to say, the iPad took its time, found the right niche use for tablets, and won the war. As Gates said about his loss, Jobs did some things better than I did. His timing in terms of when it came out, the engineering work, just the package that was put together. So, those were just some of the inventors who failed in their experiments and research. But we have so many amazing things today only thanks to the same inventors. Hope you appreciate and enjoyed our work as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.